I can usually tell within about 30 seconds whether a home is going to sell in a week or whether it's going to sit for 3 months. And the scary part, most sellers unfortunately don't realize which one they are until it's too late. This isn't because I'm psychic. It's not because I have some special instinct or feeling about it. It is pattern recognition. When you've walked thousands of homes with buyers, you start seeing the same signals over and over again. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. And here's the frustrating part for sellers. Most of these signals have nothing to do with luck, timing, or the market. They're decisions that get made before the listing ever goes live. Because days on market change how buyers think, which is super fast. A home that sells quickly feels desirable. A home that sits starts to feel suspicious, even when nothing is actually wrong with it. And once that momentum is gone, it's super hard to get it back. Price reductions don't reset the clock. They don't create a fresh start. They usually just confirm what buyers already assumed. And that's why this matters. This isn't about market headlines or interest rates. It's about how your home shows up to buyers the moment it hits their screen. In this video, I'm going to show you how to spot before day one whether a home is positioned to sell fast or quietly stall out, how pricing taps into buyer psychology instead of seller emotion, and the behind-the-scenes prep and access decisions that make buyers move now instead of saying, let's think about it. Because when I walk into a home that's going to sell quickly, you can feel it. And I don't mean emotionally, I mean practically. The biggest thing to understand is this. Homes sell fast when they are easy to say yes to. Buyers today don't slowly fall in love with houses. They move super fast. They compare constantly, and they disqualify aggressively. After enough showings, you stop seeing homes sometimes as personal spaces, and you start seeing them the way some buyers do, as decisions. The first reason homes sell fast has absolutely nothing to do with staging trends or throwing money at upgrades. It comes down to preparation, but not the way most sellers think about it. When a home is prepped correctly, it doesn't scream, "Look how nice I am." It quietly removes objections. Every room answers the buyer's questions before they ask them. And this matters more than most sellers realize, because buyers scroll fast and they decide fast. They're not casually browsing. They are obsessively watching new listings multiple times a day. They know what's normal and they know what's new. And they also know what feels off. Clutter is a big one. Clutter doesn't just make a home look smaller. It creates stress. It forces buyers to work harder to imagine themselves in that space. And buyers don't want to work. The moment something feels overwhelming or distracting, they're going to move on. The same thing happens with little details that sellers brush off. Toilet seats up, bad lighting, scuffed baseboards, overstuffed closets, worn spots that signal deferred maintenance. None of these are deal breakers by themselves, but together they create a pattern that buyers recognize instantly. This home is going to require effort, and effort creates hesitation. Here's the mindset shift that sellers need to make. Preparation isn't about making the house perfect. It's about removing every single reason a buyer might pause. Clean and neat is free. Neutral is powerful. Space sells, light sells, flow sells. And the goal isn't to show buyers what you loved about the home. The goal is to stop them from wondering what they'll have to fix, what they'll have to manage, or what they're going to have to deal with after closing. Because buyers don't say, "We love it," but they just don't book the showing. Even beautifully prepped homes miss their moment if this next piece is wrong. I can walk into a home that's clean, neutral, and well cared for, and still know instantly that it's going to sit. Not because something is wrong with the house, but because the price is asking buyers to stretch past how they actually think. And here's the hard truth. Pricing is not about what a seller feels the home is worth. It's about how buyers behave. Buyers don't always search for homes logically. They're searching emotionally, but within very specific price brackets. They scroll in chunks, $25,000 here, $50,000 there, and if you're priced just above where buyers are comfortable, You don't feel a little high. You disappear. You're not even being compared. You're being filtered out. And this is where ego pricing sneaks in. It sounds reasonable. It feels justified. Wanting room to negotiate, wanting to see what happens, wanting yesterday's value instead of today's market. But the market doesn't negotiate with feelings. When a home is priced correctly, it attracts the widest possible pool of buyers. That competition is what protects your price. When a home is overpriced, even a little bit, the buyer pool shrinks fast. And the buyers who do show up come in cautious, skeptical, or aggressive. Here's what most sellers don't realize until it's too late. The market is most forgiving at the beginning. That first window, when a listing is new, is when buyers are watching the closest. Once that window passes, every day on the market becomes a question mark. And price reductions don't reset perception. They confirm that the original price wasn't right. Pricing well isn't about leaving money on the table. It's about meeting buyers where they already are, psychologically and financially, so they feel confident raising their hand instead of waiting for someone else to go first. Homes that sell fast aren't priced bravely. They are priced intelligently. And none of this matters if buyers never emotionally connect in the first place. Buyers don't experience your home in person first. They experience it online. Photos aren't documentation. They are the decision maker. If your photos don't create emotion, your home doesn't get considered. It doesn't get evaluated, and it doesn't get the showings. It gets skipped. Buyers spend seconds deciding whether to click save or to move on. They're not studying square footage or reading every word of the description. They're reacting. And that reaction happens before a showing is ever scheduled. This is why lazy exposure is so costly. iPhone photos, bad angles, poor lighting, too few images, no sense of flow. To buyers, that doesn't say, this house isn't fancy. It says, if this is how it's being presented, what else didn't get handled? Strong marketing does the exact opposite. It creates an emotional preview. It tells the story about how it feels to live there. It makes buyers want to step inside, not to evaluate, but to confirm what they already believe. And this has nothing to do with luxury. I've seen modest homes with great photography and thoughtful presentation outperform far more expensive homes simply because buyers were able to connect immediately. Marketing isn't hype. It's respect for the home, for the buyer, and for the moment when the listing first hits the market. Because that first impression, it doesn't just attract attention. It determines whether buyers ever show up at all. Even motivated buyers disappear when one final thing gets in their way. The buyer you really want is the one who wants to see your home right now, not next weekend, not when schedules align, now. That buyer is active, motivated, and already emotionally invested. And here's the key part. That buyer doesn't want to wait, and they don't come back. Buyers don't build their showing schedules around one home. They stack options, and when one of those options is hard to access, limited windows, long notice, complicated instructions, it doesn't feel exclusive. It feels inconvenient. And inconvenient homes get pushed to the bottom of the list. This is why easy access matters so much in the early days. Lockbox access, flexible showing windows, clear instructions, the ability for an agent to say, yeah, we can see that, without a back and forth. And there's one rule here that isn't optional. Sellers need to leave the house for showings. Every time. When sellers are home, buyers can't talk freely. Agents can't give honest feedback, and the showing becomes rushed and surface level. Instead of imagining themselves living there, buyers are focused on getting out politely. Easy access doesn't just increase showings, it increases the quality of the buyer walking through your door. When a home sits for weeks or months, it's rarely because it's a bad house. It's usually because one or more of the same 4 levers were pulled in the wrong direction. First, ego pricing. The price reflects hope, memory, or need, not buyer behavior. Buyers don't fight that disconnect. They move on. The second one is prep that stops at good enough. clean but cluttered, started updates but unfinished, assuming buyers will just look past it. What buyers actually see is work, and work reads as risk. Your third is lazy exposure, weak photos, bad lighting, no emotional pull. And once a listing fails online, it rarely gets a second chance in person. And your last is showing barriers, limited availability, long notice, sellers home during showings. Each one quietly filters out the most motivated buyers. When even one of these is off, the market doesn't punish the house, it punishes the timeline. A home launches slightly overpriced, showings are slow, feedback is vague, then the price drops. Then it drops again. And buyers don't think, now it's a deal. They think, why hasn't it sold yet? Nothing about the house changed. Only the perception did. About a year ago, another agent asked me to preview a listing that they had before it went live. And the house was stunning. It was completely redone. Top of the line finishes, no corners cut. One of those homes where you walk in and think, this should be easy. They asked for my opinion on price. So I walked them through the recent sales, current buyer behavior, what I was seeing, and how similar homes were actually performing right then and there, not 6 months earlier. I gave them a number that made total sense. They didn't like it. They felt the house deserved more, and emotionally I understood that, but the market didn't agree. That agent listed well above what I recommended. The first week passed, then another. Buyers stopped asking when it would sell. They started asking why it hadn't. Then came the first price reduction, then another, then another. Today, over a year later, that beautiful, fully renovated house is still on the market. Nothing about the house has changed. The moment did. That home didn't fail because it wasn't good enough. It failed because it missed the window when buyers were most willing to say yes. The biggest difference between a 7-day sale and a 90-day listing isn't the house, it's momentum. The first days on the market are when buyers are watching closest. They're curious, they're alert, they're comparing everything new. Once that moment passes, the questions change. Instead of, should we move fast? Buyers ask, why is it still here? And that question follows a listing no matter how many times the price changes. Homes that sell quickly aren't lucky. They're prepared to remove hesitation. They're priced for how buyers actually think. They're marketed to create emotional pull, and they're easy to see when the right buyer is ready. That's why I can usually tell within 30 seconds how this will go. When those things line up at the start, buyers don't overanalyze, they act. Make sure you check out my next video, and if you have any questions, drop them below. Thanks for watching. That's it for now.